So we're going to start this week off. Since we're starting a new year, we're all getting ready to go. I wanted the first part of this week. I'm not sure how many segments of this little series is going to be, but I'm thinking about 6. So for the next 6 weeks, we're going to be talking about selling, and I'm really going to break this down piece by piece. And the first thing I wanted to do was talk about kind of the overarching concept of selling. What is selling and what is a sales cycle? Because I think a lot of people think that the word selling is a bad word. And it's really not. It kind of depends on the kind of salesperson you are. And the reason why everybody feels bad about it is because they've always felt like they've been sold or had something bad happen to them because of a salesperson. There are good people, salespeople, and bad salespeople, just like there's good doctors and bad doctors, you know, good lawyers and bad lawyers. There's different kinds of people in this world. And I really want to train y'all to be the best salespeople that you can be, where you're proud of what you do. And I think I was just thinking about it before we started recording that Allison, who's on here today, I actually knew her in my past life. Allison was one of my clients with my previous job that I held for 10 years before I started doing real estate, and I worked in fundraising. And I think a true testament to, if I'm going to pat myself on the back, I can't, it's going to sound a little arrogant, but of how good of a salesperson I am, because I left fundraising a couple years ago and I had not worked with Allison. Alice, how long? I mean, it had to have been 7 years ago, 6 years ago when we actually worked together.
Yeah.
And I established a relationship with Allison that she knew I was here to help. She knew I knew what I was doing, and she decided to come work for White Line years later after we actually worked. So that's the kind of relationship whenever you go into selling that you really need to establish. And I think that's important. So important so that that's what I want to talk about for the next few weeks. So we're really going to talk about selling and how to do it correctly and how to establish these relationships and close some deals and make some money. It is a job and you've got to learn how to do it well. This next couple weeks is not going to be how to manipulate people and how to get them to sign things that they don't. That's not what this is. And I'm going to explain more why in just a minute. I found this slide, and I've used this slide in a couple of my previous presentations. Does anybody want to take a crack on translating this for me? And I have this whole spiel, which I won't give you, but when you learn something new, at first, it's always a little bit tricky until you kind of understand the basics of it. So once I tell you the basics of this, everybody's gonna be able to translate. Anybody want to take a crack at it? Anybody? Kevin, Rebecca, nobody? All right, so guys, this is actually, everybody got real quiet because I don't want to sound like an idiot. It's okay. This is actually just straight up syllabic. I'm going to go with kind of, what do they speak in Louisiana in the woods? Why can't I think of it right now? But this translation actually reads, see Billy, see her go, 40 buses in a row. No Billy, dim as trucks. So what's in them? Cows and ducks. So guys, once you learn what's going on and once you can identify this, I guarantee you I could write out an entire story written in this format and you'd be able to read it. And all it takes is just a little switch in your head to be able to see something that actually is really confusing and or scary and be able to apply it going forward. And that's what I want to do with sales today. So we're going to be talking about sales. What is sales? If you go look in the dictionary, there's 2 definitions for it. One is a verb, and it means to persuade somebody the merits of, which is 100% correct. I think it's missing a lot, but we're going to get into that in just a minute. So to sell somebody is to persuade somebody the merits of. Hey, this is a great house. Here's all the great things about it. But that's not all that sales is, in my opinion. Secondly, it is also a noun, typically used in the past tense. A disappointment, typically one arises from being deceived as to the merits of something. A lot of people will use the term like, hey man, you got sold. And that has a very negative connotation that nobody likes to hear. They're like, hey, you got sold, or man, he's selling something, right? That makes it sound like there's some negative implications. And if you've got those negative implications, quite honestly, you're doing it wrong. Okay, so, and I want to talk, sorry, I got to get my light on there. I want to talk a little bit about that. So what sales isn't? Sales is not being able to sell anything to anyone. You've heard that saying all the time. I actually was talking to my mentor, one of my mentors yesterday about this, and he says that I hate the phrase, you could sell ice to an Eskimo. If you're trying to sell ice to an Eskimo, that makes you a swindler because they have ice. You've done a terrible job of prospecting. You need to find somebody that needs ice. Okay. So you can't, like, selling is not being able to sell anything to anyone. Two, sales is not making someone want to do something they do not need to do. Okay. They are not making them want something that they don't necessarily want. That's more marketing. Okay. Marketing makes you desire something. You know, I've got to have something new. And you've seen, if you've got kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For the love of God, they watch a commercial. All of a sudden, I have to have a little widget, toy, whatever, and I will die if I don't have it. That's not sales, guys. That's marketing. Okay. And that, to me, we'll get into, I'm not going to get into marketing, but we'll talk about that later. My wife's into marketing. We can do that. Sales is not making someone buy something they do not want. It is not about twisting somebody's arm. It's not about taking a no and making them do it anyways. It's not about guilt tripping people. It's not about making them feel bad if they don't do it. It's not about, well, you said to me earlier in the conversation, you'd be willing to do this. No, 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 no. That is not sales at all. Sales does not dominate with personality. Now, I know that sounds really strange coming from me because I have a very large personality. I'm a big person, okay? And there are some people that are very introverted, that are quiet and meek, and they don't, where they have, if you believe, if you study the the traits, the personality traits, some people have harmony as one of them, and they want to be very harmonious and they want to make people happy. And if you have this big dominant personality and all they want to do is be harmonious, then you dominate them with personality until you get what you want. That is not what sales is either. Now, I have a big personality and I use my big personality, but I don't dominate anybody ever with it. The fifth one is you are not born a salesperson. I've heard that so many times, and it absolutely infuriates me. Some people are born talkers, okay? My 4-year-old, perfect example, okay? Some people are born, they bring people together. They're very good in social situations. They're very charismatic. That's a nice thing to have as a salesperson, but that doesn't mean you're born a salesperson. Sales, the correct way to do sales and sell anything has to be worked on. It has to be a trait that you work on. So many people, especially in the real estate world, think if I study the books and I know everything that's going into this, I'm going to be great at it. I'm going to tell you right now, the technical knowledge that comes with what I do on a daily basis maybe occupies like 1% of my day. And if I don't have the technical knowledge on hand, then it's going to occupy about 5% of my day because I have to go get it. The other 95% of what I do is selling. True to the word selling. That is what I do all day, every day. It's not about the technical stuff. It's about getting clients and getting them across the finish line. Okay. So what sales is, guys, it's very simple about what sales is. Selling is uncovering a need and then bringing that individual products, goods, or services to fill that particular need. If we go back to what I said a minute ago, it's not about getting somebody to buy something they don't want. It's not about dominating them to close a deal. It's not about this. It's about finding what do you need and how do you get it to them. Now, the tricky part with that statement right there, guys, is finding out what they need. So many people will tell you what they need. In the real estate world, it's so funny. I need 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and all this kind of stuff, right? Okay, I need a house with 5 bedrooms. My wife is on me right now. We have a 4-bedroom house. She wants 5-bedroom house, okay? Now, well, that seems like a pretty easy uncovering of her need, doesn't it? She needs 5 bedrooms. But why does she need 5 bedrooms? We have 2 kids, right? Well, she wants an office and she wants a room for guests and all this stuff, right? So we're getting a little bit deeper here. So maybe she doesn't need a 5-bedroom house. Maybe she needs a 3-bedroom house that has an office extension or has something else, right? So it kind of changes the game a little bit when you really uncover the need and you're really able to dive down. And we're going to talk more about that as we go. But selling, guys, once again, it is fulfilling a need. You got to find somebody that needs what you're selling and you got to go from there. It's not something you do to somebody, guys. Selling is not something you do to somebody. You are literally an intermediary, not in the real estate sense, it's a different word. You literally find out what they need. That's the art, is finding out what they need. And the hustle is getting them what they need and getting them together. So there's an art and a hustle to this, guys. It's something you do for somebody. So why sales? Why do I like sales? Why do I tell everybody to be in sales? Why am I proud to be in sales? The first one is, guys, this is the only job I have ever known of that I can give myself a raise. Guess what? Every single one of y'all, you get to have a raise this year if you choose to. It's up to you. It's all about getting systems in place, finding more clients, getting more things done, and you can give yourself a raise. Guys, there's no limit. There's no commission caps in White Line Realty, none. If you want to make $7 million a year, do it. And it's completely possible. Unlimited security. I love this one. I love this one so much because my wife, I love her. She works at USAA. Everybody always says USAA is a great company, and they are. I'm not bad mouthing it, USAA at all. Okay, I'm just using them as an example. Okay, and it's a very secure job, good benefits, all that stuff. It's absolutely true, but it's not a secure job. And what I mean by that is there are companies that do layoffs all the time. There are companies that downsize. There are companies that are affected by COVID-19 and all of a sudden they can't keep everybody on. You may be the best at your job, but one financial issue could absolutely eat your lunch. If the company has a financial problem, whatever it is, the great thing about sales is, guys, you're all 1099. 1099. That means you can take your 1099 and go wherever you want. And even if it's not real estate, if you can learn how to sell properly, I'm telling you, they're always hiring salespeople. Always, 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 always. I have to be honest with you guys. I am not scared to sell anything. Tell me what I'm selling and we're getting ready to go. I chose real estate because I love the fact that I can create wealth while doing my job. And the next series that we're going to do is going to be about investing. So that's going to be a big one. But I can sell. I'm not scared. If for some reason every house in San Antonio catches fire, okay, and we have no more houses to sell for whatever reason, I guarantee you I can get another job as a salesperson because I know how to sell. So learn how to sell, guys. I can work wherever I want. Guys, when you're in sales, guys, if you want to move to Dallas, you've got the skills. If you want to move to Arizona, take the test, get the license, you got the skills. And that's a kind of a great thing. I don't have to work close to an office. I can do it wherever I want. I can travel whenever I want. I can make as much money as I want. I can promote myself as much as I want, right? Because I'm not one of those guys. I'm a senior lead analyst manager of nobody cares, okay? How much money do you make? How much money do you take home? You can call me a realtor. You can call me the owner. You can call me I don't care what you call me. Just call me so we can do a deal, okay? And there's unlimited flexibility, guys. That's what I love about sales, especially in the real estate world. You do get a little hamstring tied on your clients and their availability. But guys, if you decide to take a month off, you can. You absolutely can. And that you go to your boss and ask for a month off. It's like any job you've ever had. I'm gonna take the month off. Why? Just kind of done working right now. I love that. That's what I love about it, guys. All right. Concerns about being in the world of selling, AKA objections. And we're going to talk a lot about objections when we get to that topic. It's commission. Man, that's scary, man. How do you know if you're not going to get a deal? And I like having a steady paycheck. To me, personally, a steady paycheck is golden handcuffs. And the worst part about that, and I see it all the time, I started life as a teacher. Man, super steady paycheck. Super steady paycheck. But I like to work. I'm a hustler. I was a band director. My band was one of the best bands in the city. And I got paid exactly the same as the guy who had the worst band in the city. I would come in, I would do extra practices, I would help my kids, I'd have one-on-one trainings, I'd come before school, stay after school, I'd do everything I possibly could. And I had great kids and great stories and a great band, but I got paid exactly the same as the guy who clocked in at 8:30 and clocked out at 3:30 and never cared. Guys, even though there's commission based, it is a concern, but guys, if you are not scared to work, you'll make your money. The stigma of being a salesperson. This takes a little bit of getting used to, okay? Realtors don't really have that stigma. You'll get it if you're excessively marketing person to person, you'll kind of get that. But don't, guys, I'm proud to work in sales. I have for the last 15 years, I love it. I'm an introvert. I don't have a salesman personality, quite frankly. And as we go through this series of learning how to sell, you're going to see that being an introvert is actually a plus when you sell. You don't need to have this big imposing over the top personality. It's actually detrimental. It took me a long time. I'm talking years to learn how to rein that back and be a true salesperson, not just somebody who can talk over somebody else, not just somebody who loves to be the center of attention. That's not what it is. So if you're an introvert, that's actually a plus. Don't let that sets you back. Just pay attention to what I'm saying, and you'll see why. What if I'm bad at it? What if I suck at this? What if I can't do it? Guys, if you can't do it, there are people here to help you do it. We have all the systems in place to help you do this, guys. You just have to be able to work at it, and you have to be able to take the time to study what we put out here. Take the time, guys. There's no reason to be bad at it. Anybody can be taught doing this, and I'm telling you, I've seen it. Rejection. What happens when I get rejected? People that live in fear of rejection, in my humble opinion, have the most unfulfilling lives ever. The best way I can put this is like middle school kids. When they're at the dance and all the boys are on one side and all the girls are on the other side, what is the one thing that is standing right in the middle of that room? It's rejection. The boys don't want to go ask the girls to dance because what if she says no? Guys, if you're scared of rejection, there's no way but through it. There is no way but through it. Okay? Probably everybody out here that I'm talking to right now is probably in a relationship or married. You had to get through it. Okay? That's like telling me I'm scared to learn how to walk because I might fall down. Guess what? That rejection, when you get it, use it as a tool. Take that thing that rejected, why they rejected you, analyze it, use it, and then come up with a way to handle that rejection for the next time. It is a little bit hard, I'm not going to lie, but there's only one way through, guys. And if there's anything you want in life, you have to be prepared to get rejected on it. Even if you have a full-time job and I'm going to go work at Amazon, you got to go on a job interview and they may reject you. Okay. It doesn't matter. You've got to get over that. Just anything in life. And it's hard. Sales is hard. No, I don't find myself carrying a lot of heavy rocks and shoveling dirt and things that I truly think are hard. It's hard sometimes because you don't know where you're going, and that can be dangerous. But if you know where you're going and if you have a plan, it's really not hard. It's just a hustle. You just got to be able to work. And the better you get at sales, the less hustle you have to do. The tighter you can get the selling screws in your personal journey, the less hard it gets. So just like any job, it's hard. I don't care what job you have. Day one at McDonald's, guys, it is tough. I don't know how to flip that many hamburgers right away. By day 14, I got to figure it out. Same thing here, guys. All right. So, I also like to talk about who sells. Guys, everybody sells. If you've ever done anything in your life, you've sold. If you've ever done anything in your life, you've sold. I don't care. First of all, if you go on a job interview, you have to sell yourself while you're the best at this job. And having been somebody who's interviewed and hired a lot of people, it amazes me how poor people are at selling themselves. Doctors have to sell. What do you mean? I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to get all this stuff. I'm going to open my own practice. You ain't going to get any clients unless you know how to sell. Okay. Number two, you better have good bedside manner, which is selling, or you're going to get your butt sued. I don't know if you've ever seen that statistic. Teachers, I got to sell a kid on why he's got to take his clarinet home every time. Okay. Parents, CEOs, President of the United States. We all got to get votes. We all got to get doing this. CEOs, we got to learn how to do this. Guys, everybody sells. Everything you've ever done in life is sales. So pay attention because this will help not only with real estate, but hopefully getting your kid to brush their teeth as well. So the main focus of today's lesson is going to be the sales cycle. Sales work in a very cyclical manner. It's the same process over and over and over again. So we're going to go through these step by step. And I always tell everybody, to me, it's very important to realize where I'm at in the sales cycle because it's going to help me with my clients, because you cannot skip steps. You have to go in order. You have got to be able to go in order to make sure that you are making this perfect thing. Because if not, if you break a step off, you're not going to be doing very well at all. You're going to get a lot of rejection. Okay. Step one is prospecting. If you're new to the game, this is where we start, is prospecting. That is the first one. And you have to identify this. Okay. I'm not going to be touching prospecting in this series because I've done a lot of previous videos on it. This would be considered marketing or anything like that. But one of the most important things about prospecting is identifying your client. Who needs what you're selling? If I am a John Deere tractor salesperson, I am not going to go to a 20-story building in New York City and start knocking on doors. That's the dumbest thing you could do. We need to identify who needs our services, who needs our goods, and what's going on. And we have to be able to identify our prospects. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the nice things about real estate is it's pretty easy to identify a prospect. Are you trying to buy a home? Now, I talk a lot about the marketing in previous videos, guys. Please go check those out. But you also need to identify what kind of prospecting you want to do. If you're one of those real estate agents that wants to work in commercial, that's a different prospect, isn't it? If you're one of the guys that wants to do new home builds, if you're one of the guys that wants to help people get their first time home buyer credits, if you're one of the people that wants to help whatever it is, you need to identify where you're trying to get to. And right now, some of y'all just might be real estate whores. I'll take whatever I can get. Okay, that's fine too. But you still can't, you're gonna have to narrow it in just a little bit. It's really hard to be good at commercial and residential at the same time. You gotta figure that stuff out, guys. But prospecting is figuring out who your target clients are, okay? If you've got a family of 4 that loves their house and they live here and it's the absolute perfect house for them and they wanna stay here for 10 years, you can talk to them, but you can't spend a lot of time working with them. That's just not a hot prospect at the point of when you're talking to them. Step 2 is establish contact and rapport. Establish contact and rapport. Also, by the way, prospecting can be your current people that you know that are already in your sphere of influence. So the second one is establish contact, initiate contact and establish rapport. You've got to talk to them. Hi, my name is Colin. Okay, that's initiating contact. Establishing rapport is a little bit trickier. Rapport is all about understanding each other. It's not a fake facade and trying to get somebody to like you. Establishing rapport is understanding each other. Your best friend in the whole wide world that comes over to your house and opens your refrigerator without asking you, you already have good rapport. You've established it. You know each other. We feel good about it. Now, the tricky part in sales is sometimes you have to establish rapport from ground zero. From ground zero, you get a phone call from somebody, hi, and they go, hi, I'm interested in this house at this address. Great. That's, you initiated contact. Actually, they initiated it, right? And now we have to establish rapport. Guys, during the rapport building process, it's not about just getting to know each other, but getting to know what they want. What are you looking for? What is your pain? How do we get rid of this? And this is gonna be our next one, is establishing rapport, because that's huge and it's very tricky. And I think this is the one part where people screw up the most. Identifying needs. Guys, after you've established rapport, part of that is identifying needs. This is the arrows in your quiver. This is how you will close the deal. You have to be able to identify exactly what they need. And it needs to be very clear. It needs to be very clear to you so you don't waste your time. It needs to be very clear to them so they know when they see what they're looking for, that's it. I just recently put a contract in on a house for this couple that was waffling back and forth really bad. Do I want a 2-story? Do I want a 1-story? They were all over the place. Do I want a house that built in 1970? Do I want a brand new flip, someone that just flipped, or a brand new build? They were literally having me show, like I set up showings for them one day. We went and looked at 6 houses. We were all over the place. I was like, none of these houses look anything remotely close to the previous one. And that's when I realized I had skipped identifying needs thoroughly. They didn't know what they wanted, so they wouldn't have known when they saw it. So that one is also very, very, very crucial. Next is presenting offers. Presenting an offer in a traditional sales sense is whenever you say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, I have this tractor with such and such pieces and parts and this and that, and it's going to cost you $100,000, whatever, okay? That is presenting an offer. On ours, it's actually going to be preparing an offer, being able to show them what they do, but it depends on what sales cycle we're doing. I'm talking about a general real estate transaction right now. You will have to go through the sales cycle with a listing presentation, okay? At a listing presentation, there will be a part where you have to present to them your listing agreement. That is presenting an offer. Here is my offer to you, okay? So we'll talk about all these in a little bit more, but that's the next part, is presenting an offer. Like, you have to say, do you want this? Okay. Okay. I found you. We talked. We understand each other. I figured out what you need. Found it. Do you want it? That's basically what it is. The next part is managing objections. This is the rejection thing that a lot of people are very scared of. Managing objections. It took me a long time to get good at this. And if you've ever worked in a sales job ever, which I know Kevin has, I'm pretty sure some of the other ones have, objections are the greatest thing in the world to hear. I want objections. Okay? I want them to tell me what they like, what they don't like, what they're concerned about. I need to know what's on their heart. And if I've established rapport good enough, they're not scared to tell me. Okay? I need to know what's wrong with my offer and how I can bring them what they need to feel good about it. Objections are fantastic. You want objections. You want them, you want them, you want them. And if you're not getting any objections, you did not establish rapport well, and maybe you need to back up in your cycle. Secondly, when and it says manage objections, guys, you have to be able to say, hey, look, this is why I didn't do that for you, or this is why I don't think you do this. So that couple that I just put the offer in, I finally went back, I re-identified their needs. We went through, they wanted one house versus another house. And I told them, you need to take the other house. Why? Because you told me X, Y, and Z. Is that still true? And all of a sudden it started making sense to them, and we were able to dial it in and get the offer in instead of showing them another 30 houses. Okay, so objections are a good thing, guys. Don't ever be afraid of them. That's music. Oh, I always say, what's the opposite of love, right? It's not hate, it's indifference. If you hate me, there's still some sort of emotion here. If you get an objection, there's still some sort of thought process in here. They still want it. They want something. You just didn't give them the thing that they want. That's good. If they have nothing, no, you did not do a good job. That's indifference. That's the opposite of love, is indifference. You don't want them to be indifferent about your offer. Okay? You want them to be pro, behind, like it, don't care. Okay? Just tell me something. And lastly, guys, you got to close. You got to close, you got to close, you got to close. That's the best thing ever. This morning, I had a closing. Now, it's very, very, very simple in real estate because a closing is a closing. All right? But you got to seal the deal. You got to bring the customer to what they want and make them happy. Sign on the dotted line, press hard 4 copies, however you want to call it. Okay? You have got to close. Once you've closed the deal, you start the next one by finding your next client. It just goes round and round and round. Now, you can have multiple of these circles going on at the same time. There's a lot of clients that I'm simply initiating contact with. There's some of them that I'm presenting offers to. There's some of them like this morning that I'm closing. It's really interesting. So literally this afternoon, I'm going to be driving up north, and I'm going to be talking to some new home builders because I identified the needs of another client, and I need to go find what they want before I can present them the offer. So I've got their needs, even though, so 2 different transactions. One I'm in the green circle, the other one I'm in the red circle. All right. So, and it just goes round and round, guys. It just goes round and round and round. So today's lesson, that's it. The sales cycle. What is it? This is it. Guys, hopefully you've written this down. If not, I'm going to post this video. Come back and identify this. Write this down. Once you get in the hang of where you're at with this, and yes, you need to be cognizant of where you are in this process. You need to be cognizant. Now, I'm going to go over the different parts of the sales cycle one at a time, and tell y'all some tips and tricks that I use, some verbiage that I use, some thought processes that I go through to help with every single one of these parts. But this is it. And guys, like I said, if one of these pieces isn't fitting together very well, that usually means I didn't do a previous spot very well, that I didn't do the previous spot to completion. You got to complete one spot before you go to the next one. Except for maybe establishing a rapport, I feel like that one goes all the way around. Like you got to constantly be working to understand your client. So questions, comments, concerns, guys. Anybody have any questions they want to talk about during the sales cycle? Man, I'm a good teacher. Man, I'm good. God, I'm good. Kevin, you got anything you want to say? I know you like that one part I was talking about. I think you said the objections. What do you think about my sales cycle?
No, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till you get there. I'm very intrigued on. I mean, from the two different industries as far as real estate to the car business, I see a lot of similarities. But at the same time, I can definitely say I've seen a lot more bad salespeople than I've ever seen good salespeople. In my industry, my prior industry, I mean, a lot of the objections or closings were a result of heat. We call it heat in the car business, meaning terrible rapport and terrible. Let me see something. Give me 1 second. Go back on one of your screens.
Yep.
Terrible rapport building and terrible identification of someone's needs resulted in terrible closings and terrible.
Dude, I got to tell you a story real quick. Not this truck that I bought. The truck that I bought the sales guy from was okay, but the car I had bought before that. Holy Jesus, was that salesperson terrible? By the way, guys, not trying to brag, I have literally trained people in all 50 states, 7 Canadian provinces, Puerto Rico. I mean, I have traveled most of North America teaching people how to sell things. And as I go over this over and over and over again, it just, when I talk to a salesperson, their deficiencies stand out. And Kevin, like you said, car salesmen are the worst. Do you know why? Because they'll hire pretty much anybody with a pulse. Not trying to knock you, Kevin.
But no, I agree.
and they like, oh, if they look good in a tie, and they're real gung ho, and they've got this overwhelming charismatic personality, you're hired, right? Boom. And then they say, there's a prospect, go get them. And for some reason, so I went to go buy that car, and the guy, I'm not trying to brag, guys. I didn't care how much the car cost. I can buy the car, okay? That's not the problem. His one thing he kept asking me is, what do you want your payments to be? What do you want your payments to be? What do you want your payments to be? I'm like, you didn't ask if I have kids. You didn't ask if I want 4-wheel drive. You didn't ask you didn't ask me, you kept asking me, what do you want my payments to be? I don't give a flip what my payments are. I want a car that fits my needs. And the guy never asked me. And I got so irritated. He must have asked me that 15 times. And I know what he's going to do. He's going to go back there. He's going to pull my credit, figure out whatever. Then he's going to establish a high mark, like Colin can afford a $100,000 truck. And then he's going to try and shove me into the highest payment he can get so he can get his commissions up. That is a terrible salesman. And if you
I remember, I'm going to interrupt you right there. I remember when my very first week in the car business, there was a guy that was well known in the Austin market as the African Prince. That's what they call this guy. And I worked at his store, and the very first thing he told me was, and mind you, I came from HEB as a director. First thing he told me was, hey man, anytime you get a customer, just think of your mortgage. And I was like, what the hell did he just tell me? And I mean, as a salesperson at the time, I was just like, okay, maybe, I don't know if he's leading me the right way or, leading me to, just bad business. So I went to him, hey man, I got this customer, they're looking at this, and we went to go look at putting a deal together. And the very first thing he went out there and said was, fill out the credit application. And I'm like, man, I haven't even showed him a car. I haven't went over anything with him. He was like, no, this is how we do it here. And I was like, wow, very, very interesting. So then as I grew in the business, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said, as I grew in the business and the company I was working for, Group 1, they sent me to San Antonio. I actually worked with a really, really good GM that actually taught you how to sell. And when I got my own opportunity to get a store that I was leading a sales team in, which was back in Austin, I realized when I first got there, I don't have any salespeople. I just have people that are, I guess, here to make money because that's the stigma. Is the only way you can make money is screw people over. So we had to get rid of the whole sales team there just to become having good business practices and being profitable, which changed, my vision on what the car business can really be.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of points that I wrote down when you were telling that story. Yeah, there is some truth in qualifying the lead. I'll give you that. Let's qualify the lead. Like, I need you to fill out a credit application. Same thing with a house. Like, I need you to go talk to a loan officer. Because if you can't buy a house, then I'm not wasting my time with you. Okay. I know it sounds a little harsh, but I mean, you don't have to be that harsh about it. It's like, hey, you can't buy a house right now, but let me show you how you can get to buy a house. And if you've established rapport and you're helping them and you see that their need is their credit sucks, fulfill that need. Hey, look, I'm going to get you with this person. They're going to help get all this stuff together. Hopefully in 6 months we can do this. And then the second thing is kind of like we were telling that story, that these guys are pushing real hard and doing all this. And I guarantee you, I know everybody has had somebody do that to them. And you just have this disgusting feeling when you walk out of there with that transaction. And
I remember that same guy. I mean, I had a customer one time, like I said, when I was early into the car business, and this African Prince guy comes out, takes a turn, talks to the customer, and the customer's like, yeah, I just don't like the payment. Don't like the payment. We're looking at I think it was a GMC Denali. And he was just like, well, I mean, I'm buying it for my wife, but I mean, it has to make sense financially for us. This guy's response was along the lines of, hey, man, I mean, some people come in here and they have champagne taste, but beer budget. So if you don't have the cojones, then this ain't the place to buy the car. When I heard that, I was like, wow, I don't know what type of rapport you think you have with this guy, but you just met him. But yeah, that deal didn't happen. And that goes back to the objection came up of heat, and there was a deal lost until somebody else came in and made a phone call. And guess what? Now your profits just went completely south because to bring the customer back in, you had to spend, you had to make it worth their while.
But I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, you even saying that, I'm pretty sure everybody on this call right now just went, ooh. Like if a salesperson says that to you, some people fall victim to it. Like, especially, like I said, the harmonizers, those kind of people, they'll fall victim to that. But people like me, you done pissed me off. You lost the sale and I'm never coming back.
I agree.
I mean, guys, and here's the other thing. I mean, for those of y'all that are in the long haul with me, a person buys a house every 7 years. My clients need to feel like the people that, like, I just made a post. I don't know if y'all saw this, but I just made a Facebook post. I had a closing today and they had a forward lease, and so they were in the house for about 3 or 4 days before they literally closed on it. And so that today they closed on it, but they found out that one of the toilets didn't work. They were like, man, this toilet's not working right, this, and that. I went out and bought them a toilet. I heard them. I have enough rapport with them where they would think it's funny, right? And I'm like, here's a toilet. The guy's going to be over there this afternoon to install it. And guys, it's a different feeling. They hugged me. They laughed. They thought it was the greatest thing in the world because I heard them. I cared about them and I took care of them. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. Allison's on this call. I have sold Allison. I have sold her. She signed a contract with me. She worked with me. And the business that I was in, not everything went smoothly. Okay. I'm sure there was one point where she was mad at me. Okay. But here we are 10 years, 7, 10, whatever years later. And we're still there because if sold correctly, she's got what she wants. She feels good about what she wants. She knows that I'm listening. She knows that I'm here to help and support her in any way. And we're here. Whoever Eric Sangerhausen's car salesperson is a genius. I don't even know who it is. We'll have to ask Eric. I don't know if y'all know this, but I swear to God, Eric buys a new car every 6 months. Okay?
If that.
You're right? You know Eric, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy buys a lot of cars. He likes cars. He likes whatever. I don't care. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying that salesperson knows what Eric needs. And I know working with Eric, I can tell you as long as I know. Eric wants the point, say that one, I'll be back in 30 minutes. I want all the paperwork done. Eric's all about time. Okay. He wants it done. He wants it done quickly. That guy figured it out. And now, I mean, boom, boom. And think about that for a minute. If you are a car salesperson or a house salesperson, you kind of force somebody in there by, like you said, like calling them, like, hey, dude, are you man enough? You got the cojones to pay for a Denali? Are you bling bling enough? Are we doing? It's like, well, yeah, you talked him into it, but I guarantee you that guy will never come back to him.
Absolutely.
You made one sale. You made one sale. And that's terrible. Guys, when you're done with your selling here, you're not done with that client. You want to get referrals. You want them to feel good enough to say, yeah, Colin is the man. And when I gave them that toilet and we're all laughing, this was the exact words. They were like, Colin, you are a bad mope. And I'm not going to say it because it's recorded. And then they said that Robin, my loan officer, goes, man, she is a bad bitch. I mean, they were really impressed with what we were able to do in the timeline and how to get the whole thing done. They were appreciative. They love me. And I guarantee you, they will give me referrals. I guarantee you the next time they go to buy a house, they will call me. And as a matter of fact, that couple right there was a referral. Her mother referred me to them because her mother liked the way she felt when she was done. Her mother liked the way her house, like I listened, I got it. I handled all the pieces of the transaction, made her life easy, and I got a referral off of it. I mean, guys, I hate to put a number on it, but if you're thinking about your mortgage, and what's so funny is it's exactly a year apart, almost exactly. I think that her mom closed January 2nd of last year, and here we are, January 6th of this year. So within 1 year, because I did something right, I had 3 transactions, 5 transactions actually. 5 transactions in 1 year because I did the sales cycle properly. Okay, because the mom, she got married, so they had 2 houses they had to sell. So I got those, bought her a new one, sold the daughter's one, and then bought her a new one. 5 transactions off of that one prospect. And guys, that's how it happens. I was talking to Allison before we started recording, guys. It's a snowball effect. And if you do it right, that snowball will grow quickly. So chime in. If you got anybody that wasn't on here that's on your team, they need to hear this, guys. This is important stuff. Because as technical as I can get, guys, and yes, there's a lot of technical stuff in real estate. To me, learning how to do this properly is how you will make a career out of this. And it's how you'll be able to give yourself a raise if you can do this properly. If you can't, you're going to be in it. You're going to, 6 months, you're going to quit. And you're going to say, man, I tried that real estate stuff, man. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig because you didn't learn how to do it properly. So that's all I got. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Wonderful. All right, next week, guys, we're going to be talking about establishing rapport, which is my favorite one because it took me a long time to get good at it, and now I'm pretty dang good at it. So we're going to work on that one next week. So I will see all of you guys next week.